Welcome to Taboo Investing, Zionism in Tech. Our amazing speakers. I'll start with introducing our moderator, Dror Globerman. Dror is a renowned public speaker, content creator, and acclaimed broadcaster and journalist. He's the author of the Skip Intro weekly newsletter and co-hosts Israel's leading and award-winning tech podcast, While You Were Working. The podcast airs weekly on Keshet 12, Israel's most viewed TV channel. Additionally, he hosts the innovation show, The Future Now, on Galei Tzahal, the national radio station. Globerman has been covering innovation and technology for over 2 decades for Israel's largest media outlets. He's the creator of the documentary series, The Battle of the Brain, which delves into social and algorithms' influence on human society. Dror is also a lecturer at several in artificial intelligence on various aspects of human life. He's known for his ability to communicate complex technological stories and their economic, societal, and public implications in an appealing and captivating way, making him a sought-after lecturer among global enterprises and national entities. And now our speakers, I'll start with Safra Catz. Safra is the Chief Executive Officer of Oracle Corporation and a member of the company's board of directors. At Oracle, she previously served as President, Chief Financial Officer, Executive Vice President, and Senior Vice President. She's also a lecturer on the faculty of Stanford Graduate School of Business. She has been a member of the board of directors of the Oracle Education Foundation since its founding in 2000 and has served as chair since 2004. Safra is on the board of trustees of InQtel. Previous to Oracle, she held various positions at Donaldson, Lufkin, and Jenrette, including managing director in investment banking. Safra also served on the board of directors of HSBC Holdings and the Walt Disney Company. Thank you, Safra. Thank you. We have Udi Mokady with us also. He's CyberArk's founder. Right, Udi. Udi is CyberArk's founder and executive chairman. As executive chair, Udi takes an active role in ensuring alignment of the company's long-term identity security strategy and mission and fostering ongoing customer and partner relationships. Udi co-founded CyberArk in Israel in 1999 and served as CEO for 18 years. He took CyberArk public in 2014 in what is considered one of the most successful tech IPOs of the year. Udi was a successful public company leader for 8 years and was instrumental in driving CyberArk's business transformation to consistently achieve record growth while accelerating global adoption of its industry-leading identity security solutions. Udi is a member of the Monetary Authority of Singapore's Cybersecurity Advisory Panel, the Brandeis International Business School Board of Advisors, recently IAC New England Regional Council. All right. And he also joined General Catalyst as Catalyst Advisor. Next, we have Yasmin Lukatz, who is Yasmin is the Executive Director of the Israeli Collaboration Network, ICON, a nonprofit organization that aims to create a Silicon Valley-based community to harness and support Israeli startup technology and innovation. With a background in economics and law from Tel Aviv University and an MBA from Stanford, Yasmin has held significant roles in both corporate and startup environments. Notable for her strategic investments in early stages in leading startups like Topalti, Navan, and Salt Security. Yasmin also gained recognition in Akrishim, Israel's version of Shark Tank. Recently, she founded Code for Israel, the Israeli movement of high-tech volunteers dedicated to addressing Israel's challenges through technology. Thank you, Yasmin. And last but not least, we have Simone Ledeen, a leader in defense policy and national security. Simone has extensive experience in intelligence, counterterrorism, and emerging technology. As Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East, she navigated complex geopolitical challenges, including those related to China's rise. Her private sector work included a key role at Standard Chartered Bank, launching a comprehensive financial crime compliance program covering Africa and the Middle East. With foundational experiences in government, including deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq, Simone's work continues to shape national security through advisory and consulting roles and defense technology investment. Simone is now a venture partner at Texas Venture Partners. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And Dror.
Thank you, Eyal, for those kind opening. I want to thank you for inviting me here. As an Israeli who lives in Israel, you don't get to feel this kind of energy and love as I feel right now, staying here with you for the last couple of days. And it's amazing. Honestly, it's amazing. I never had so many times that I was almost tearing so closely as in this event. I want to thank you all for coming in such a early morning hour on Shabbat. And I want to thank you, my panel members, for accepting me here, although I clearly belong to the wrong gender. So I want to, as you can see, Udi, it's just you and I. As a minority, small minority, it's nice, as it should be. Okay, so I want to refer to the headline of this panel right away, and I want to ask you all, ladies and gentlemen, to start with an opening statement of yours. And the question is: we all know how tech helps Zionism, right? But does Zionism also helps tech nowadays?
Well, when you think about if we build it, they will come. And the faith of the absolute impossible becoming possible, it is so obvious why the belief in Israel, the impossible, the miracle, the startup nation is what drives so many technologists. They've already seen the impossible happen, and the faith that the hard work and the belief that if you build it, they will come applies in technology as well as in the miracle of Israel.
Udi.
For me personally, being an Israeli company that on Tuesday is going to ring the opening bell, celebrating 10 years as a public company, that's Zionism. Absolute driving force. There are headwinds, but absolute driving force.
For me, I think when you're in investing, there's so much noise and so much going on in the investment space, even in defense tech, which is where we focus. I think it's important to take a stand and stand for something. And for us, obviously, we have a very specific stand, which is Israeli defense tech, for the reasons that I could not express more eloquently than Safra just did. The miracles that we've seen happen, and the fact that as the startup nation is now in war, there's a very focused application on this. And it's a really exciting time, we believe. And so, yes, Zionism does help tech tremendously.
So I think it goes both ways. I think it could help, and it could help more than it did before, but it could hurt, and it could hurt more than it did before. And we're seeing anecdotal cases on both sides of this equation. But the one thing that it's more of an issue than it was before. It concerns founders. I work mostly with startups. It concerns founders. I'm sure it concerns big corporation as well. And it could go both ways.
Okay, so thank you so much for those remarks. So we're going to delve a little bit into that. You probably know, in the last year almost, as the war has been continuing, it means that it's harder to accomplish your goals of work. If you're working in a high-tech or startup or whatever company you do, it's harder in your family. It's harder to being a parent because many people are drafted to reserve, and that has implications on the entire society. It's also harder to start new companies. Investments are going down, and there was a banner printed in the early weeks of the war saying, "Israel tech delivers no matter what." And I think it kind of united us in the feeling that we have some kind of superpower. But I want to break it down to real stories, real faces. Udi, do you know people, maybe in a company, that actually fulfill this banner. Does Israeli tech really deliver no matter what?
First of all, absolutely, and I'll tell some specific stories, but we have 1,100 employees in Israel, 10 to 15% of them, maybe 20% were in reserve duty, and as a public company, we continue to deliver, even over-deliver, throughout this entire time. So that's like the picture. By the way, the coverage was not just Israeli employees covering from one another, but also the global employees covering for one another, like the team in Singapore covering for the guy in Israel who's absent, the team in Boston covering for Israel. It was amazing.
And I hope you guys understand, reserve service could sometimes mean 100, 150, 200, 250 days a year where you are in battlefield.
Yeah, I can drop one of our guys, his name is Timur. He drove a D9 for 6 months.
What does it mean?
D9 is basically a Caterpillar tractor that clears the way for the soldiers, for mines, for the tunnels, for things that are blocking the way. So it's life-saving for the troops that follow.
It goes first into battlefield.
It's the first to meet explosives. 6 months. And so he did that. His first stop on the way home was to come through the office in uniform and just say, guys, thank you for covering me and for helping my family, because that was part of the story.
Wow.
And another more senior guy had to improvise. He was called on October 7. He's Ugdata Esh. He was covering basically a fraction of where to send air cover to, and it's a continuous overnight shifts. And he heads R&D. And he thought it was going to take a week or two, and after a while he saw that we're in for longer. He actually improvised, found somebody who already retired from reserve duty, convinced him, it wasn't hard, but convinced him to come back, trained him, and said to his commanders, hey, I have somebody who's going to take shifts with me so that I can come back to work. And he kept this going for multiple months and to keep the trains on time.
Working double shifts, right?
Working double shifts, but brought extra power for somebody who retired.
And you can hear stories of people coding inside a tank or making business calls from the row room and so on and so forth. I want to ask you, Yasmin, maybe on the more macro level, do numbers still work? Do companies still fulfill their goals?
I mean, what we're hearing is that they more than deliver. And, I hear so many anecdotal stories similar to Udi's stories, but also I saw ads like on Facebook groups in Tel Aviv that I'm stuck in reserve, I have a deadline, I'm a coder, and like 100 people write, oh yeah, give me the code, send me the code, I'm going to write the code for you and do those things. And that's very Israeli, but I think it's not only the Israelis that help one another, it's the global employees that embrace, if this is the company's culture, and also customers in many times. One of my startups, early stage, told me they were on a sales call with, sitting in Tel Aviv on a sales call with a company in the US, and then rockets. There were rockets in Tel Aviv, and they had, there's an alarm. How scary is it for a customer that is not used to, not used to life in Tel Aviv, not used to this routine, has so many uncertainties about going on, and they went to shelter, and the call resumed, and they said they were very understanding, and they got the deal done. So it's not just us, it's everyone.
Safra, I want to ask you, Oracle in Israel is super important to Israeli tech, and Oracle is very dominant in the arena. And I want to ask you, I guess some of the employees, of course, were drafted to reserve service. Did the Israeli branch, stood up for challenges if you compare it to other branches that you have all across the globe?
Okay, so first, I was in the Kiryat, and I go in, and I meet with everyone you'd imagine I meet with. And on my way out, I run into, 5 of my team who are all in uniform working. And to be honest with you, it's like my proudest moment, okay? Just being there and doing a group photo. And the reality is we had our best year ever. Our teams were incredible. In fact, when I visit customers in Israel, after October 7th, I visit customers and I want to talk about the war. They want to talk about how business is going. They want to tell me how my team has shown up for them and made them successful. And the reality is that everyone just perseveres through. It was hard, let's admit. Right after October 7th, a lot of people were in uniform and were all over the place. In fact, my only LinkedIn post ever is liking my Oracle Israel chair, where he had a video of my people all over in uniform saying Yachad Ninatzeach. And, you know, the reality is, yeah, we persevered, but we overcame. And if there was only one message I could say is, right now we're in it, but we have a very long history. We have had very hard times. No time have we been as strong as we are now. We will look back on this as an enormous achievement, and we will be way, way above it by then.
Well, Safra, I told you before, I paid a visit to Oracle Israel offices about 2-3 months ago just to discuss generative AI in business, and they explained to me what Oracle is doing. It was very nice, but before they had to tell me, do you know what Safra did during the last months? And I was, no. And they told me unbelievable stories that many Israelis, and definitely abroad, were not necessarily aware of. And can I ask you, Safra, to, don't want to say brag, but
no.
Tell a little bit, how did you and Oracle respond to October 7th?
Well, first of all, the one thing that we did that was the most public was that on our website, it said we stand with Israel. But not, thank you, but not on only our Israeli website or only our American website, but our global websites in local language. Now, it wasn't like one of those little "We stand with Israel" on the corner. It wasn't one of those where it shifts around, and you know, you see "We stand with Israel," then it's like "Come to Cloud World," come to, you know, buy a T-shirt. No, you could not get past it. Like, you hit our website in an Arab country, and you saw your entire screen filled with an Israeli flag, which said, not only "We stand with Israel," we stand with our employees in Israel, we stand with the people of Israel, we stand with the military establishment of Israel. And we also had a link on where to donate to Magen David Adom. And I don't know what, I mean, early on, I remember it was like 15 million shekel had already been, but then, you know, I stopped asking what it was, the donation, but it must be something, because Magen David Adom thanked me. And that was, you know, that was to make a point. And we can talk about that maybe at the end on what that meant and how all these different countries reacted, because that's really interesting. And of course, we did anything and everything we could for our employees, literally. We paid them months extra, even if they weren't there, and just extra. And I will tell you, my employees donated a lot of that for children. And, you know, and we continue to support. One of our employees lost his son in the early fighting. And, you know, we're just one big family. But all of Oracle globally embraces our Israeli team. And when I travel around the world in countries you would not expect, I get thanked by just random Oracle employees and others for our stand with Israel, which I think would surprise a lot of you.
I also heard from some of your employees, who I can't name names, that you made some managerial decisions, shifts of workforce, shifts of projects, rushing to build infrastructure with Israel in mind. Do you want to elaborate, or am I going into problem now?
There's a few things that we did that I really can't talk about, to be honest, because to advance the agenda for the Israeli military. But our teams did a lot. We have some really profoundly scary technology at Oracle, and we wanted to make sure that it was available for the effort. Let's just say that. Okay?
Okay. You don't have to say anything. Okay. I want to ask you, Simone. Should companies should they have a stand? Right? Should you have a position in everything? How flexible should this position be in accordance with your business interest at the moment?
Well, myself personally, I believe it is important to take a stand. Very important. I think you see plenty of people with the watermelon and all of these emojis out there. They're taking a stand, and it's very important for us to take a stand as well. In fact, what I'm doing right now with this fund, Texas Venture Partners, was actually founded on this idea that investing in Israeli defense tech now is incredibly important, and by the way, will bring massive returns. So, yeah, I think it's important also, though, to recognize the fact that when we're dealing with a lot of early stage companies, they're a lot of times dependent on other factors. So, for example, we saw recently, earlier this year, the Defense Expo in Paris, where Israelis were uninvited, Israeli companies were uninvited, and then, midweek during the expo, they they turned off the block, which already was too late for many companies because they had canceled their plans, et cetera, et cetera. This is incredibly damaging. I think it's very important to note that. But if you are like a Israeli company, Israeli founder, or an investor in Israeli companies like we are, don't hide. I don't believe that, number one, is helpful in the long run. And I also think it also goes against what we're trying to do, because at the end of the day, yes, Israel is in a war and under attack right now. I think it's a broader fight for the West, where Israel is like the first front, the current front, and the most kinetic at the moment. But this is like an us thing. So, and whether you're Israeli or not, whether you're Jewish or not, I think it's important to take a stand. And I'm very proud to. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Yasmin, did you encounter any, let's say, problems for, being Israeli, for promoting Israeli companies? Did your companies get any?
Well, companies get, yes, there are anecdotal searches. I actually want to disagree with Simone, if I can, before, on what she said. I do think that as a person, as a CEO, you should express your opinion. It's part of your duty as a citizen of this world. But when it comes to the company account, on a day-to-day basis, pre-October 7th, my opinion was that it should not. Unless you're in the business of expressing opinions, you have employees, some of them think that, LGBTQ marriage is okay, some of them think they're not. Are you going to express an opinion? Are you going to alienate some of your employees? How can you do that as an organization? So my opinion was that you should not as an organization. But then came October 7th. And it's not about politics. It's about right and wrong. It's about, so kind of my opinion is that when it crosses this line, it's being human or not being human, you have a duty to do. But let's not let it trickle to every political issue out there. I don't think businesses should express political opinions unless they're in the business of expressing political opinions.
If I can jump in, I think for entrepreneurs, for founders, first of all, I agree. Like, don't step in it like every step of your way. You're running a company, but I think being authentic is very important in business. I think one of the things that I discovered with any customer relationship is they want to know who you really are, and being authentic. So, of course, first of all, what Oracle did, that's amazing with putting the flag everywhere, including in Arab countries, like I noted. For us, as we're an Israeli company, so we're CyberArk, we're an Israeli company. We lead with that. You visit the offices elsewhere in the world, you're going to see the Israeli flag. And so that's something that's very clear. You take that position and what you are. But I agree with Yasmin that on other topics, if it's not fundamental to who you are, you're running a business and focus on running a business.
So let me put it into maybe more feasible terms. Let's say there is a client who's coming to your offices, right? I don't know, in the States, and let's say they're from Qatar, okay? Don't you have the thought for a moment, maybe we're going to remove the Israeli flag just for this meeting? We don't need to shove it in their faces. They know we're Israeli, they're still here. You know, why annoy them? It's business.
Scott's honor, no. Like, I would never have that thought.
No. And so I want to ask you, did you ever encounter, problematic reactions from clients, definitely after the October 7th?
I can jump in with an example. You would know, we have an employee here, so you would know who I'm talking about, but we have somebody in finance, non-Jew, non-Israeli, okay, in finance department, who had in his signature, he's just in love with the company, and through the company, he fell in love with Israel. He had to stand with Israel in his signature thing. Like, we don't do that. You don't express these things in your signature of your email, but he had that, and we had some deal go through where somebody whistleblowed or something in the account that the vendor broke policies because they're expressing politics and we were like, what, who, what? And we discovered what it was. We ended up kind of clearing it where somebody else dealt with that customer. We did want the order and the money, right? We're running a business. And I walked over to him. His name is Matt, and I gave him such a hug. And I said, Matt, well done. I mean, you stepped in it, but well done. We love you.
You don't cut his bonus for this.
I'll share two examples, a good one and a bad one, because as I said, it could take you to one way or to the other. The first one, and I'll read, this is one of the startups that we work with, kind of had a deal in process with a Saudi company. It's important to say it's a Saudi company. And they're not hiding the fact that they're Israeli, although their headquarters are in New York. And then a few months into it, after the war, they got this email. Please note that we're never going to have any business interactions with you due to your strong links with Israel. Your founder is Israeli. Actually, he's a pilot. Corporate office in occupied Palestine. We were pretty much excited about the tool capabilities and the value it would provide to our business and team until recent finding today. So, I mean, it is anecdotal, but I'll share on the other side. One of our startups were negotiating to be acquired with a Finnish company, from Scandinavia. And they signed an unbinding agreement just before, like I think October 5th, just before that. And, they didn't know what's going to happen. But they said, we understand, we see what's going on, we want to continue our due diligence process, and they signed the deal and went through.
Yeah.
You want to comment?
Well, you see, sometimes when you're in a position like we are at Oracle, we see things really from a position of strength, frankly. We're nearly 60 billion in revenue. Our biggest problem is too much demand. And so, I mean, seriously, I can tell you that any kind like that letter where they wouldn't work with you, like I'm going to ask you for that little company's name, and we will not work with them either.
No Oracle for you.
Like choices have consequences, and and I will tell you that it violates our policy to have from the river to the sea on your LinkedIn, like all that kind of hate speech. Because that's not like a poem. That's from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free of Jews. That's what that is. So let me finish the sentence. So anyone who thinks that you can do that, like we were weak in the 30s and 40s, okay? So now, and I'm in this group with a bunch of other folks, some of whom are here, actually, where we're just bringing the consequences. So, No, it's not okay. You cannot beat us up. You cannot throw us out. And if you want to boycott us, buckle up. Because, and it's interesting, because as I hinted before, you know, our websites, and our websites ultimately around the world, sent a very strong message. And it unnerved even some of our employees who were a little bit scared. And I will tell you the reaction from nearly all the Gulf nations was almost identical, all but one. And in every case, business not only went up with us, but doubled, okay? But one nation that in the Gulf that some would think is more aligned with the killers, murderers, rapists, torturers, they had a different reaction. They didn't want to boycott us. They reached out to us and said, please don't leave our country. And, you know, this company that is decided, the Saudi company that Yasmin mentioned just now, yeah, okay, they're missing out on the newest technology. Okay, buckle up. They're, you know, and they're the losers. And it could be just one employee. And so that's fine. Choices have consequences. We've been here for thousands of years. We're going to be here thousands of years from now. The consequence will come to them.
So this is very moving. I want to double down the question. I've been hearing from employees, Israelis and non-Israelis, that work for multinational tech corporations, such as, I don't want to name names. I do want to name names, such as Amazon and even Google and even Meta. That the inner discussion within employees is very much from the river to the sea. And no one is blocking that. By the way, Meta's decision from just 2 weeks ago was to say that from the river to the sea is an okay expression in favor of freedom of speech and to end this war, right? It's like they have no idea what it means. They've never read a map. Anyway, and those employees find it very hard to have, you know, they're on the daily working, the routine working day, to have it in order when they are being bombarded with messages such as this, and the company would do not, TikTok the same, by the way, would do nothing in order to stop this, let's call it harassment, from other employees around the organization. And they feel powerless.
Yeah, but they ultimately should sue. Just like these university students, they should sue their employer. You know, if one of my employees wants to sue me, come on up. You know, but we won't stand for that kind of hate speech. So that is intimidation and harassment. And, you know, you can sit quietly by, or you can group up with some of your colleagues and say that's not okay. And, you know, this is a bad time and a scary time, but the one thing we know is if we let it keep happening, it's going to keep happening, and it's going to get bigger. First a toe, then a foot, then the leg, you know, and then you're completely under. So, I mean, for us at Oracle, it's very, very simple. We don't have these issues. If we have these issues, I think it's quite obvious. Okay? You couldn't do this to African Americans, you couldn't do this to Christians, you couldn't do this to Muslims, you couldn't do this to Asians, you know, you name it, you can't do it to them, you can't do it to us. Not okay.
Okay, I want to go into a little bit into business, and this is the response of investors, global investors that I've seen. And maybe it's important again to note, Israeli tech is built on foreign money. 90% of the investments are non-Israelis. And Israeli tech is the basis for Israel's economy and Israel's strength and advantages over its rivals, okay? Strategic, military, and economic. And what we've seen through the last month is how how the investor, global investor, I think split to three, and I offer this analysis, but you may beg to differ. So they split into three parties. One, those who ran away from Israel since October 7th, quite a few. Second, those who ran into Israel. Israel needs us, we're going to support right now. And three, we can call them opportunists, but let's look at it from a business perspective, okay? I'm looking for opportunities, and if there are opportunities, I'm in. And I want to hear your thoughts about those parties or where the money is going.
Well, about the opportunities, I think best time to invest is when missiles fall on Tel Aviv. This is, you got to, I don't know why people want to start investing when there are so many, they read about the unicorns, they read about the success. This is not the time to invest. You want to invest when the market is down. So this is like a pure business thing. But I do think more than being opportunistic because of the situation, Israeli tech is just good. If you want, it's just good. And VCs raise money, and they need to spend the money. You can't let the time pass, and a year and another year, and you don't make any investments. Your limited partners are going to go, are going to say, hey, I gave you the money, I gave you the commitment, I expect you to find those good companies. And if I'm a partner and I'm just going to neglect the Israeli market, I'm not doing my job right. I'm not going to be able to raise another fund later on. So they have to do the job. And while early stage companies often raise on a dream, once you pass a certain threshold, you raise on your numbers, you raise on your ability, and we all heard how Israeli tech delivers. So it is in a way a no-brainer. What I do see is that many investors go out of the way, really, this other group, especially the Israeli ones, the Jewish one, that I want to spend more time. Send me more companies. Send me, like Safra said, I want to know about this company that got to know. They say, send me all the companies, all the Israeli companies. I don't invest in cyber, but let me meet them. Maybe I can introduce them to someone. So there are so many good people on the way that want to make it happen, and that's specifically relevant early on when you sell on a dream. But later on, it's a really easy business decision.
Simone, you started a whole VC that is designated towards investing in Israelis.
Israeli defense technology, specifically. Yes. Yes, we did. Thank you. And I would like to offer, I think, I agree with you, Yasmin, this is the time to invest. It is a really exciting time. And we're extremely bullish. It is a difficult time right now, and that's why it's a great investment. So I'll just share. I went to Israel in May with a delegation of other U.S. Venture investors. Big names. I'm not going to out them here, but they're, we've all heard of them. And we were focused on Israeli defense tech. So I will just tell you, even just from that anecdote alone, there is a huge level of interest. In terms of what we've been finding, so we're a new fund post October 7th, so we're actively fundraising right now. We've started also writing checks and investing. A lot of the Jewish Americans that we've been approaching for investment, I don't know why, but are viewing it as kind of like a charity, instead of you're going to make money from this. And so it's been interesting. I don't think we expected that initially. So we've kind of pivoted in our fundraising approach to explain better. Look at the history of Israeli tech investment. It's pretty good. And now everyone stopped, not everyone, but most people have stopped what other things they were building and are now really focused on defense tech. And we're all going to benefit from that in the West. And so we want to support that, and that's been our kind of investment thesis. So I would just say there are people who are fearful. There are people who are running away. I'm not worried about them. It's less competition for us. I'm thrilled. I'm online, on social media. Hit me up. Send me, pitches. We're actively looking for opportunities right now. So yeah, I could not be more optimistic. And I also want to say, in the event that recent things with beepers and walkie-talkies were an Israeli thing, that's also it's just another data point for people who are not Israeli and even not Jewish necessarily to say, wow, the Israeli ingenuity, creativity is unlike anywhere else. We know the reason for that, but not everyone does. But the point is, it's obvious, even for people who don't have a deeper understanding. And that really is why we're so, and me personally, I'm so excited about the opportunity. And I can say we've been looking at some incredible, incredible companies coming down the pike that are they're just game changers in a number of areas. So, yeah.
Do you think that, all right, combining the quality of innovation in Israel and experience in battlefields, that some of those technologies have a unique opportunity to go through, and this business arena that you described, the opportunity, do you feel that from a sole business perspective, this fund will do better than others when we look at it in 3 years or 5 years from now?
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. You also look at the valuations. I mean, we're looking at the valuations of these early stage tech companies coming out of Israel. They're unfortunately for Israeli founders incredibly affordable. And when you compare companies in other places that are building maybe similar things, maybe not as good, the valuations are higher, which means that for an investor, it's a better deal. A much better deal. So yeah, and then also when you look at you take a room of founders, like put a room of Israeli founders together, and then compare that with a room of founders from any other country. The likelihood that you're gonna get a massive return is exponentially higher from the Israeli room than any other room. So why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take? It's not. The likelihood that you'll get a return is much higher. So yeah, no, thank you for the question.
Yeah.
And Dror, maybe I just want to touch the cybersecurity sector, because that's one where hopefully defense tech is going to head in that direction. And when it comes to cybersecurity, and of course that's our industry, but there's multiple startups, they actually get a premium to this day in international markets in terms of valuation. So people kind of know, oh, I'm going to buy the better one out of Israel. It's become like Swiss watches from Switzerland, cybersecurity from Israel. It's become a known fact. And I had this almost, I thought it was surreal situation where I was at the RSA conference in San Francisco, and a local VC asked me for a favor. Hey, you're Israeli, you know everyone. Okay, we're trying to talk to this startup out of Israel. He's going to be at this cafe meeting another VC. Can you come in and introduce, he asking me, a public company guy, introduce them to this guy, and because they want to get in on the deal. And it was a fund that has no presence in Israel, but they knew if they want to get on good cybersecurity deals, they have to go to Israel.
So I want to ask you two important questions on this. First is, if I compare, I didn't check, I admit, if I compare your stock to other stocks in the last year, did you pay a price for being Israeli, or it's an up?
I need to touch wood everywhere, somewhere here, but we did very well. We had a great year in terms of performance. Like you'd see absolute great performance.
Okay, so I'm holding down the question, and I want Safra to maybe close for this subject about the timing and investments in Israel. Oh,
sure. I agree with pretty much the whole panel. This is the time to invest. Okay, because the problem is, if you go when everyone goes, that means you're at the back of the line. And if you are in front, when you're courageous, you get unbelievable deals. Now, as Oracle, we've been through lots of other ups and downs. During the global financial crisis, we bought a company called Sun Microsystems. Nobody wanted to buy anything during the global financial crisis. We bought it net of cash for like $5 billion, and I made more than $5 billion in 2 years, in the first 2 years to pay for it. So When everybody's running away, run in. And that's that moment, because the returns you're going to get are going to be stunning. So now, not everybody's brave. So, you have to be tolerant. But don't go with them. Don't go with the scaredy cats. Be upfront, put down your money, and this is that moment. Just like Yasmin and just about everybody said.
Okay, I will look a little bit into the future now, okay? And still the data, some of the data is not too favorable for Israeli economy. And a question that rises again and again is, Israel made very, very good advancement thanks to its excellence in cybersecurity. But now the world is looking elsewhere, not only at cybersecurity, but, for example, at artificial intelligence. And Israel's advantage in this area is not very clear, as it used to be in other areas. Can the success in cybersecurity be replicated in other areas where the world's interest is right now? Udi, can you comment on that?
Sure. So I think it's true. There's a famous professor in Israel, Itzik Ben Israel, that kind of created a plan for the Israeli government, and he put it in front of them. But then there were like 5 elections in how short, and no 5 elections in a few years, and nobody looked at it. And he actually put out, and he's a very he's not a political figure. He's all about he's the head of the space agency of Israel and others. But he wrote this open letter in the press, like nobody's ignoring. We're going to miss the AI, and that was an important point. I do think there's recovery there. Israel is behind on the language models and creating the next open AI. Although there are some companies in that space out of Israel, but maybe miss some of that boat. However, the things that are tangential around applications of how do you use AI for healthcare, how do you use AI for finance industry, that's already booming. There's a lot of startups. How do you create trust in AI? Obviously, we're all familiar with what the malicious things that you can do with AI, or the wrong answers you can get with AI. So we already see startups being sprouted around trust and security in AI, and I think Israel can definitely lead there.
Okay, you can mention Ilya Sutskever's new company that has 2 bases in LA and in Tel Aviv.
Right. The founder of OpenAI actually left, and one of the founders of OpenAI, and it's Palo Alto and Tel Aviv.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even if we look a little bit farther into the future, then many are worried about Israel investments in R&D, in the academia, in equality of opportunities, right, for the Haredi sector. And some would say this is a true threat for Israel's advantage and future. How do you feel about that?
Yasmin, who's taking this grenade?
I can.
Okay.
I'm concerned. I'll start with what I think is the solution. I think we all have to work for unity. Within unity, like the Jewish community united for Israel, I think we have to strive for unity within Israel and to solve our problems together. The population that doesn't do the core studies growing in percentage in the country, and I am worried that those amazing engineers that created the Iron Dome for us, they're not going to be there in 20, 30 years when this generation, we're just not going to have enough people that had their core studies done, and I'm very concerned about that. So I think we have to get our act together and unite and figure a way to take this amazing place and just ignore, whatever President Trump, no, that's not going to happen. We're not going to not be here in 2 years. We're going to be amazing if we unite. If we share our strength, I talk a lot about communities, and I think communities 1-on-1 equals 3. And I think the state of Israel is that too. It's 1 should be equal 100, not a 3, because we got all the opening conditions to make this place amazing. We just, and core studies, I think, is a main issue. Carrying the burden is a main issue. So there are many issues that we need to look after.
I think not enough Israelis perhaps understand the connection between core studies, participation in workforce, advantage in tech and in R&D, and the very existence of the State of Israel.
Yeah, maybe we explain also to some of the folks in the crowd where some sectors in Israel, ultra-religious, don't study math and English. I think even physics is probably also included there, but don't have to and do not study math and English in order to get funding for the educational system. I think that's the number one thing we're worried about, and that's a growing population that will be illiterate to be able to do anything in tech, let alone just even turn on a PC. Okay, and it's very worrisome. And all of the goodness that we have in people going into units, and they're already identified in high school, and they go into the technology units, and all of that, you can't have that when people are technologically illiterate. So I think if I had like one thing one ask, it would be in that area, much less on, hey, can the government help in R&D funding and all of that stuff? Because I think we have an amazing flywheel already in the Israeli ecosystem. There's already good, large companies creating startups, people leaving these companies creating new startups, and the flywheel is working, but you have to start in the earlier phase, in the education.
Do you perceive that as a real threat to Israel's position?
Yes, I do. No, it's really, that'll be my biggest concern, education.
More than...
So looking at it like from further away, which I am than a lot of you, the one thing I see, and also because we have had family members in these intelligence units, is most of Israel, or a large number of Israelis, go to the military. A very large number, a shocking number, go into Shmona Matayim and all the pieces related to Shmona Matayim, all the little groups, undergroups, cool groups, whatever. Who else has a country like this, okay? And many of them, they don't go just for their required periods, but then they stay in, they go to university while they're in there, and when they get out 7 years later or whatever, then they go to startups. That is a true flywheel. Now, you know, we'd be interesting to have public service like this in the United States, frankly. I think it might do a lot of us some good, especially some of these college kids. But like for us, the thing is that these kind of groups that you run and founded, they're founded in these networks, and as a result of this, and they get the best technologies. I mean, I love to go to those units wherever they are in different places, and they show me, you know, they show me some extremely cool stuff that they use our technology. And I have to say, a lot of these TikTok videos that are put out, ultimately, of incredible things that the IDF does, you know, I saw that before. And it's because these folks have had a chance to use the best technologies. And so I'm actually more positive. You guys are closer to it. But since I have sort of time perspective, age perspective, and distance, I think the reality is we're going to be here for sure.
All right. Two short last questions, okay? One from a very tactical, down-to-earth point of view. Imagine you're a salesperson, okay, or an entrepreneur, or even a small Israeli investor, and you want to make this cold call to someone abroad and propose your product, your service, your company, your services as an investor, and now they're foreign. They're, I don't know, from Belgium, from Chile, whatever, and you have no idea how they feel, where they stand when they get a phone call with the prefix +972. Can you give them an advice, a piece of advice, how to approach this cold call, this conversation when you want to offer something, but you have no idea how your phone call is being perceived right now on the other side of the line?
I mean, Udi spoke about authenticity, and I think this is what it is. You should talk. You're calling to sell your business, a fund, whatever that is. Talk about that. Talk about the numbers. Talk about your product. Talk about how it's going to, save money for the business, how it's going to make you money. This is what you should focus on. When you get to the next level of the conversation, don't hide it. If it's part of your advantage because you're a graduate of Shmona Matayim, you should talk about it. But it's never going to be the first thing I say, because I think you should talk about the reason that you called, which is your product or service.
Udi?
Fully agree. Fully agree. And just, I think it should be to yourself. Like before when you look in the mirror, before you make that call, be proud of who you are and what got you here. And you're a founder, again, whether it's a startup or a fund, and you have the stamina and the audacity to make this call. But be smart about it. But as long as you're authentic, I think it's fine. You don't have to say, your Israeli ID on the call, and exactly where. But it's an advantage. The Israeli tech has a great branding to it. Again, some segments more than others. We're going to lift all of the segments over time. And just be proud, but be smart in how you use your words.
Except if you're calling Simone, then you should say first I'm Israeli, then you can keep talking, right? Okay. And maybe the last question. Oh yeah. So I'll give the last question from my side, and then you can make some of yours, your question. And the question is, would you agree that this is not an easy time, right, from an economical perspective in the Israeli tech? And I want to ask for some forecast. When will it bounce back? Are we looking at a 2-year time frame or at 20 years?
See, you're talking with people in tech. We are bound to be optimistic. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this profession. So I think we all gonna give you very optimistic answers.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Safra agrees.
Yeah. Oh,
okay. All right.
Go bring a group of lawyers, and then you're gonna get a different answer.
Again, I don't think we sugarcoated the issues, but I think we definitely will overcome, bounce back strong. Anti-fragility, as was said here, right? Anti-fragility.
Israeli tech delivers. Can we take some questions from the audience? This gentleman on the third line is waiting patiently.
My name is Joel Poznansky. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I know there are lots of people who are actively like me who want to help. I'm an American citizen here in DC. Yasmin, can you tell us the name of your fund so that we can invest? And secondly, for those of you who don't know about another fund created in Israel called Iron Nation, that's now the top 10 as a new fund, maybe someone on the panel will talk about it. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I'd like, Yasmin, the name of your fund, and maybe you'd mention a little bit about Iron Nation that couldn't be here, which I've invested in.
Okay.
Thank you. Actually, it's my fund is. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
My fund is actually really interesting. I'm sure many of you are involved in nonprofits, and we started as a nonprofit. We founded a nonprofit 10 years ago as a community of people that share a passion for Israeli tech and innovation. And what we learned throughout the years is that we see amazing companies, we identify great companies, we create the relationship, and then they go on and invest, get investments from the top tier funds of the world. And we could have gotten an allocation because they like us, but we never do that. So we started a fund. The name of the fund is Icon Continuity Fund, and the fund donates in full all of its general partner profits to the nonprofit. And I think it's incredible because I think all nonprofits should have like this an annexed commercial vehicle that guarantees its sustainability of the nonprofit. So for me, I get to spend my time making business decisions instead of fundraising for philanthropic dollars, and I can say no to sponsors that I don't want to. And I urge everyone who's involved in a nonprofit to find what is this right thing for your nonprofit to do that, and I'm happy to talk to you after about our fund. Very exciting. Thank you for the question.
And I want to answer your question. Actually, just an opening, right? Iron Nation, I've been working with them. It's a fund that has raised money from VCs and investors abroad to tackle exactly this point where startups in Israel were finding it hard to find finance for continuing their operation the recent month. And we'll be hosting some of those investors in the end of October in Israel, right? Are you coming? No, than this okay. But this is exactly the moment to utilize this opportunity in the Israeli market. Go ahead.
Choose.
You choose.
Me too. Oh, wow. You're getting me.
Hi, thank you all, and especially for your energy and dedication and the inspiration of the stories you've shared. Many of you mentioned what we need to do in order to continue to win, given how outnumbered and the world is against us, which is working together, unity. And this is the space that I'm in a nonprofit, in tech. But just from your perspective, I'd love to hear how you think tech can support that goal of people around the world, organizations around the world, and in Israel actually coming together, combining resources, combining information, so that we can all be working from a single playbook and not competing with each other and therefore against each other to support Israel.
Me? Okay, well, I'll start. Listen, events like this is how we get together. I mean, the fact that folks are an organization like this is actually my first time at IAC. I'm incredibly impressed. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Elon. Thank you, all of you. But I think it's things like this. A number of companies have come to us. They've seen what we did, and modeling to work together, making sure we have the connections, and also understanding that the world is not happening in the comment section of Twitter, okay? And a lot of that stuff is bots, and don't stop. And I have to say that even when there are competing entities, quote unquote competing, they're all doing good. They're not competing against each other. They're actually competing against the adversaries. So I think just keep going. Every single time you're told, oh, stop it, it's gonna break, stop pushing. Actually, that's what you hear right before the big breakthrough. So when they tell you to stop, push harder. That would be my message.
I can add, I think that you touched on a very important point in the Jewish philanthropic world. I think there's a lot of organizations that do the same thing, and everybody knows better. There's this joke about someone who was stranded on an island, and when his saviors came to rescue him, he showed them, oh, this is the house that I built, this is the swimming pool that I built, this is my synagogue. And then they asked him, what's the building over there? He said, oh, that's the synagogue I don't go to. And it really bothered me that after October 7th, when I'm seeing on campuses the Students for Justice in Palestine, so well organized, with like a playbook that's one, and everyone is on it, and we are so fragmented, and everybody's doing like one small thing, and they think they know better, and then they start another nonprofit with another CEO salary, and I think we should do something about it. We have to find a convening voice, and I think the IAC is one of those convening voices to kind of organize things together. I know our foundation is trying to give grants when we, to encourage collaboration between nonprofits that do the same thing, and I urge you all to kind of look at your work and see who else is doing that and collaborate. Because they do, because the other side does.
Udi, do you want to make a remark?
So I would just say there's also unity in Israel, and we're invested in that. Like one of the things we did at Cyborg is to expand to the periphery. We opened an office in Beersheba, really at the toughest time. It was at the end of COVID. That's when we opened, and so to recruit employees, get more people from the periphery into the high-tech sector as part of creating unity in Israel, and of course supporting the local civilian infrastructure in this hard times. That's kind of what we do internally, but I agree. I think the ISC is a platform that can unite, and the fact that there's a market out here, the shuk of all the nonprofits, just shows that it is a platform to bring everybody together. I agree with you. It's a top priority.
But I want to say, if I may, as long as entrepreneurship and development and technology and business are concerned, then competition is great. It's necessary because we're not talking about charity here. We're talking about excellence and business and good returns and good products, right? Unique, and with the entire advantage for Israel. Thank you so much for coming here. Thank you, Yasmin, Simone, Udi, and Safra, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
And thank you, IAC personnel, for organizing all this. Thank you so much.